Amelie lived on the edge of a quiet French village where lavender fields kissed the horizon, and mornings always began with birdsong. She worked at a tiny countryside clinic tending to injured animals people brought to her doorstep. Lost kittens, limping dogs, baby foxes with frightened eyes. Her closest companion was Lumi, a snowy white stray dog who had wandered into her life one winter night, shivering and injured. She had nursed him back to health, and since then, he followed her everywhere, as though guarding a secret only animals could understand. One spring afternoon, while returning from the forest, she found a tall young man sitting on the road, holding his ankle in pain. His backpack lay torn beside him, and Lumi barked, circling him protectively. The stranger introduced himself as Elias, a photographer traveling across Europe with hopes of finding something real, something he couldn't quite define. Amelie helped him to her clinic, patched up his ankle, and laughed when Lumi curled up beside him as if he had always belonged there. Elias stayed in the village longer than planned, partly because of his ankle, but mostly because Lumi refused to leave his side. He began helping Amelie with her clinic, feeding birds too weak to fly, helping tiny hedgehogs curl into straw beds, and carrying water bowls across the courtyard. Amelie noticed that every time Elias touched an animal, they calmed, as if they could sense a gentle history within him. He told her he had grown up surrounded by animals, a small mountain cabin full of rescued creatures his grandmother raised. When she passed, the house was sold, and Elias felt something inside him disappear with it. Since then, he had been searching for a feeling that could anchor him again. Days melted into evenings, and walks turned into hours spent beneath blooming cherry trees, Lumi trotting ahead like an enthusiastic guide. Amelie showed Elias the quiet wonders of her world: baby foxes learning to stand, rabbits nibbling clover, birds taking flight after days of rest. He photographed everything, but most often, he photographed Amelie with Lumi, saying the two looked like pieces of the same soul. Slowly, their laughter began to feel like home. One night, as candles flickered inside the clinic, Elias admitted he feared staying too long anywhere, afraid nothing could ever stay. Amelie gently reminded him that animals only heal when they trust the place they rest. He fell silent, eyes softening. Before summer's end, Elias received an offer from a wildlife magazine to travel across Africa for a year. It was a dream he had chased for years, yet his heart hesitated. Lumi sensed his sadness, resting his head on Elias's lap as if asking him not to go. Torn between adventure and the life he'd accidentally found, Elias spent his last day wandering through lavender fields with Amelie and Lumi. At sunset, he confessed he didn't want to lose them. Amelie smiled sadly and told him she never asked him to stay, but she would be here if he returned. Lumi licked his hand as if sealing a promise. Elias left with a camera full of new memories and a heart heavier than his luggage. Months passed, letters arriving with photographs of lions, elephants, and sunsets the color of concentrated dreams. But every letter ended the same way: I ache for home. One crisp autumn morning, as Amelie bundled herbs outside the clinic, Lumi barked joyfully and ran toward the road. Elias stood there, backpack dusty, eyes bright. He knelt, hugging Lumi first before whispering to Amelie, I found what I was looking for, and it's here. And just like that, 3 hearts were whole again.